So what about in the third and the fourth quadrants? Well, let's think about it. Think about angle 230 degrees. You'll notice I'm building a convention here. We always measure our angles with this being 0, horizontal to the right is 0, and increasing as you go around that circle. Let me show you one here. This is my 0 degrees to the right, and then increasing as I go around that circle. So 230 degrees is down here somewhere. Okay? So, what happens at 230 degrees? Well, we have to look for a reference angle, which is an angle away from, remember I said before, we're always measuring above or below the x-axis, the horizontal axis. So if that's 230, I'm looking for this angle here. 230 is 180 plus 50. So my reference angle is the 50 degrees. What else can I say? If cos is the x-coordinate, then cos down here in the third coordinate is going to be negative. Cos is going to be negative. And if I'm down in the third coordinate, my y-coordinate is also going to be negative. Sorry, in the third quadrant. My y-coordinate is also going to be negative. So sine of 230 is also going to be negative. And then we put in the reference angle, which is this angle here, the same as this one, 50 degrees. So what about in the fourth quadrant over here? If I had an angle down here, then I'm looking at this whole big angle around to get to there. So what I'm actually looking for is this small angle here, the reference angle here. It's going to be 360 minus my angle. And the x-coordinate is cos, is going to be positive. Cos will be positive. And the y-coordinate, which is sine, is going to be negative. Sine will be negative in the fourth quadrant. So let me summarize that here. Okay, we have 4 quadrants. In the first quadrant, x and y, so cos and sine, are both positive. In the second quadrant, x is negative, cos is negative, y is positive, sine is positive. In the third quadrant, x is negative, so cos is negative, and y is also negative, so sine is negative. And in the fourth quadrant, x is positive, so cos is positive, y is negative, so sine is negative. How on earth are we going to remember what's positive and what's negative where? Well, we have to work out a simple little acronym. Your book suggests ASTC. What we're looking for is which one is positive. So your book suggests ASTC. In the first quadrant, A, all are positive. In the second quadrant, S, only sine is positive. Let me go back and highlight that for you. If cos is negative and sine is positive, then tan is also going to be negative, because it's going to be a positive over a negative. Down here in the fourth quadrant, tan is also going to be negative, positive over a negative. Sorry, negative over a positive, get that right. But in the third quadrant, tan is actually going to be positive because it's a negative divided by a negative. So let's go back to our ASTC. In the first quadrant, sine and cos are both positive, as well as tan are all positive. In the second quadrant, only sine is positive. Cos and tan are both negative. In the third quadrant, only tan is positive because sine and cos are both negative. And in the fourth quadrant, only cos is positive. Cos is positive, sine is negative, so tan is negative. That only helps if I can think of a way to remember ASTC. And the traditional way to do that is all stations to central. But you can invent your own. I actually learnt it differently. I learnt it as C-A-S-T, cast. Then I have a word, cast, and I can just remember the word. Doesn't matter what method you use, pick a method, stick to it. Just to reinforce, your reference angle is always the angle, oh, there's a good diagram here. The reference angle is always the acute angle, and it's always the angle away from the x-axis. So in the second quadrant, it's this one here. In the third quadrant, it's this one here. And in the fourth quadrant, it's this one here. And you've got to get that angle correct.